Oh, we're still off it. Oh, there we go. Yep.
Hey.
So we're on air, Aaron.
Yes, good. How you doing, David?
Really good, Aaron. Actually, really good. Am I not switching? Oh yeah, there we go. Hang on.
Am I? I don't even see my own Google
Turn that thing
Hangout
off.
on air.
Yep, she's working.
Okay, cool. Hey,
For some reason, it doesn't seem to switch. Sometimes this little thing down the bottom here doesn't seem to switch.
Yeah, it's really finicky because I had that little white frame around your window because maybe I clicked on it, and when you see that white frame, it doesn't budge from that. So it should be going now.
Let's have a look and see. No, it still doesn't.
I see you switching.
Yeah, that's all that matters. It might be just on my side. So, yeah, that's fine.
Just make sure you don't have like a little white frame around my little box in the corner.
No,
if I do just click on it.
It may be just because on our side you can't see it on our side. I'm not sure.
I see it switching on mine.
Yeah, it might be because you're hosting it though.
Oh, maybe.
Yep. So that doesn't matter. So how are we anyway, everyone? It's great to get back onto Aaron's channel. It's been a few weeks. So I mean, I know we did last week, but last week was sort of a special one because we wanted to talk about the A7R. So today we're going to be back on Aaron's channel, obviously, and got some exciting things to talk about. So how have you been, Aaron?
Been pretty good. Over the week we did, not sure if I don't have the photos ready, but we went to San Juan, Puerto Rico, where they did this big basically protest or demonstration to get rid of the current governor for corruption and all that. So went down there, me and my wife, really early in the morning. It's almost like a 2.5 and maybe 2 hours and 40-minute drive. So kind of tired from that. That was yesterday. And went around and took photos of the event and wanted to be part of history. So that's what we did. What about you? Anything interesting?
No, just look, now's my quiet period because it's winter here. So I'm just really now getting weddings up to date. So I'm catching up on all my wedding editing and stuff like that, getting the wedding albums built, things like that. Did a big shoot on the weekend, which went well with a whole stack of models, which I'll post on YouTube eventually when I get some time. And then just basically the unboxing and stuff that I did yesterday was a bit of fun.
Yeah, I like that little video. You got all those goodies, you know, it's so kind of fun when someone pulls out all these goodies because you don't know what's going to pop out and all that. So yeah, pretty cool.
Well, I set up that yesterday. I got it going. So this looks,
the handle.
Get a load of it. Yeah, so that's the handle on it. And so I've put the handle, it replaces the other part of the L bracket. So this is the L bracket. You take off the side of the L bracket. So I suppose you lose the chance to go portrait on it, but I don't really do that much anyway on the on tripods anyway. I'm nearly always just working from this way, so it's good. But the good part now is I can stick my monitor up on there, which is fantastic, and you get that beautiful clip. Sorry?
That way it's like not right in your face. You can have it over here and see what you're doing, and it's you don't have to peek around the monitor. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I really like it. And so I've just put the gunmetal tape on there to give it the same feel as what you put with the as the camera. So I did that last night and I love it. But so anyway, stay tuned for the review of that. So I'll get that up and running as soon as I can because it's pretty cool. So I've been having fun with these toys.
How does that grip feel compared to the other side? Is it really off, or is it feels, you know, adequately fine to hold, or is it like smaller or?
No, it feels, I actually really like it. I thought I'd try it. Just let me open it out so you can see it a bit better. So I've opened it out now so you can see the gap there so you can then get to all of your ports inside. But it actually feels really nice. Now, I do like hand holding a lot of video nowadays. And this is particularly nice for having that stability, because having that little extra grip rather than holding the camera on that side there gives you way better grip if you're hand holding for video. And like I said, and then because now I'm using the rails over here, I can just clip I'll show you how it works because it's so cool. Just wait till you see it.
Yeah, it's so much. When I used to just do before electronic gimbals came out, you either have those, you know, balancing type gimbals, which I had one but never really was good at it. So just by having two handles further away from the center point of the camera really reduces the pivot point. And so you do get pretty okay stabilization from it. Of course, it looks handheld, but for the action scenes we were doing in some of our short films, we wanted it to look handheld, but not that just small little jittery type look. So yeah, they can really help out.
Yeah, and I've found that with the IBIS in these cameras that I can get away because I'm often shooting slow motion and I can often get away with shooting handheld. But that's how it fits in together. So you can see here how now I can see straight through. So otherwise, if I'm using a cage or whatever, it's going to be sitting through there. And then if I just want to go selfie mode, I can just turn that around and it faces to the front. I can tilt it back and forwards, whichever way I want to go. And this rail, why I love this so much is you just clip that off. And then you can, I'll just take it off there, just push that down and then it's gone. So it's really a great system. And I think this is going to help me so much with the way that, that I shoot. And I really like the feel of that grip there. I can stick microphones if I want to up the top on there. So I think it's probably the nicest solution I've seen with my A9. I did get the cage too, but I think I'm going to be using this more than I will be with the cage, Aaron.
Yeah, I really like that. Can you still put the cable, what is it called? The cable HDMI lock? I forget what you call it.
No, you can't. But because this is protected inside here, you won't be knocking the cable because it sort of sits inside. There's a sort of hole inside here, so your cable can be sort of pushed in a bit and then go in. But
I see.
Yeah, you can't knock the cable because this handle stops you from knocking it. So in a way, you don't need the HDMI cable with this because it's protected and you can't physically get to it once it's plugged in. So that's one really nice feature about how that works.
That's not bad. Not bad. I like it. Love it a lot. So
yeah, I like it.
Who's in here? Dana, hello. Catherine, hello. I am DeBrown. Hello. Thank you for stopping by. Oreo just came in. Hey, Oreo, how you doing today?
So we're in just pre-show. We're going to start in a minute or so. We'll just see if other people want to pop in. I'll share this as well once it goes live. We've got some interesting topics to talk about. G'day, Dion. Dion's just joined us as well.
Hey, Dion, how you doing today, man? How's it going?
So apart from that, Sony, there's rumors Sony are going to announce another camera within the next 24 hours, but they're saying it's going to be the RX camera.
Everybody's excited for that one.
Yeah.
especially the camera conspiracy guy.
Yeah, I know. He got stuck into me again this morning on a video I saw.
Yeah, he was like imitating your accent and everything.
But it sounded Scottish to me. That's why I laughed.
It was
sounded
so
like
Scottish.
A Scottish Australian.
It was so Scottish. I know. It was so funny. I was laughing more that he just couldn't get it right. It was too funny.
Yeah, he cracks me up. He's a funny bloke. Hopefully one day I'll get to meet him. I'd love him to come to WPPI if he can get out there because I'd love to have a beer with him. He's fantastic.
He really should because so many people really enjoy his videos. So I'm sure he'd be a pretty welcomed hit out there if he came out.
So what coffee? We'll start the show in a minute. All right. So that's basically the pre-show. So let me put down here what time we're going to start the show. So we'll do that and then we'll start the sensor. So we'll start now, Aaron, if you like. So what coffee are you drinking today?
Yeah, today we are drinking. We're drinking in Epcot, which isn't too far from here. It's in Florida. And if you never went to Epcot, it's actually a pretty nice place to walk around with the family. It doesn't have a lot of the roller coaster type rides. Kind of fun to walk around with. A lot of people go there and do photography. I don't know about you, David, but I've never felt like I don't feel too inspired to take photographs, even though the place is beautiful. I don't feel inspired to take photographs in like man-made type areas. I don't know. Am I weird that way? Do you guys feel the same? What about you, David? Do you ever... Is it something you don't do or care about, or you do it, or what?
No, I do it usually. But look, it's often, like I said, now, whenever I'm doing things like that now, I really find I just take iPhone photos, and if it's that sort of stuff, I'd probably just be using my iPhone or something like that. But I do sometimes. It just depends. Like when I travel and it's something that I haven't seen before or whatever, and I want to keep memories, I then use my my better cameras. But yeah, I can sort of understand what you're saying. So you like nature, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just stuff that's kind of natural, I guess. And I don't want to carry like big cameras around when I'm in like parks like that. I kind of want to keep it small. So I mean, you can bring a small camera that has interchangeable lens, I guess, but I don't know, I just don't feel inspired to do so. But yeah. Anyways, that's where we're drinking coffee today. If you guys haven't ever noticed, each week we do this on both of our channels. I always drink from a different place because we travel a lot. We always get mugs from different locations. So that's it. And the coffee is actually from Dominican Republic that we went a couple weeks ago, and it's really, really, really good.
So how far is the Dominican Republic away from where you live? Is that lower down?
No,
or is it higher up?
It's a little higher up from us to the left or to the west. And our flight from, like, I'm on the west side of the island of Puerto Rico, so it's actually closer to us. But to fly out, we had to go east to San Juan to get on a plane to then go back basically over our house to Dominican Republic. And it was a very fast flight. By the time that plane got up, it came back down. It was like an hour-ish type flight. So it's not that far. It's pretty close. And yeah, it's an amazing place. If you like photography, oh my gosh, especially landscape stuff, it's really amazing there.
Is that part of a US state as well?
No, they're all on their own. They're their own country. Okay. Yeah.
Now, if the bell goes, I have to run to the door because I'm expecting a wedding album to be delivered this morning. That is coming, so I don't want it to go to the post office. So if it does, the bell does go, Aaron will just have to fill in for a minute or so while I run to the door. I don't think it's going to be anything else. I think it's only the an album. So that's what that could be. Yesterday it came at 10:30 and then they took it back. I was actually out. So I've reorganized it to be delivered today. So, well, shall we start, Aaron? Let me put up here about this time. So what time are we on? 11:20 I'll put.
Yeah, let's do it on our first story. Let's do this screen share thing right here. Oh, yeah, before we go on, guys, if you're watching this for the first time and you don't know, David started a Facebook group quite a while ago. I don't know exactly when, but it was, how long ago did you start that? A year ago?
Yeah, it's not that long. It's it's just about to get 5,000. I think we're about 20 short of 5,000 now, so it's grown really quick.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And if we go to, where is I can't find the page, David. My computer froze.
Oh, has it froze?
Look at that, it won't click. Well, let's go to let's talk about it anyways. If you
let me share it. I'll see if I can share it for you.
Let me stop sharing it. See if I can unstick this.
Window.
Yeah.
Let me go to Facebook. That might be something to do with your update this morning, perhaps.
Yes, it did. I see it at the bottom here. It says recover web page.
Yeah. Let me go. Photography, videography school, and then I'll share that. So let me go here and go application window, and let me go.
I hope let me see if my other pages are working. Huh. Yeah.
So here we are. It's this is the site that we've got. It's a photography, videography school. And you've just make sure I think it's the ampersand. You've got to do it if you're going to search for us. Yeah, we're just on around 5,000 subscribers now, but I've developed this site really to share everything about videography and photography and things like that. And everyone's sharing their work, sharing their web pages, sharing their Instagrams on there. Yeah, their YouTube pages are all there as well. So we've got stacks on there. Aaron shares all his stuff as well. The only thing we don't allow is to go live to it. That really is just for myself, or if Aaron wanted to do something, or one of the moderators or something. So apart from that, it's more for just sharing things and sharing work and asking questions and things like that. I mean, I would love more people that aren't Sony to get in there, because it is very Sony orientated, obviously, because I started this from my channel. But it is open to anyone. So it can be Canon, Fuji, Nikon, anyone. And we'd love more camera brands to be in there and actually to post. So, don't feel like you have to be a Sony shooter to be in there at all. So please join us. It's a fantastic, safe environment. We don't allow any prima donna stuff of aggression or giving bad comments and things like that. They'll be given a warning. If they do it again, they'll be out. So it's a safe place that you can actually post to. So please join us on there. And now, how do I get out of that?
So right before I came on my PC, one thing I hate about PC is they'll do updates out of nowhere right at the wrong time. So as I set everything up like you see it now, it started doing this update, well, just like half hour before I started, and it updated everything, so I had to restart my browser. But I'm good to go, so let's go to the first story, David.
Right, so let me put the time in there now. We are 14:40. 14, I'll put 50. All right, so you can start, Aaron, if you like.
Okay, so here is a story about 6 new Sony Full Frame sensors One of them has a quad Bayer structure. Now, I read a little bit about, Bayer sensors and technologies years ago, so I'm not too familiar with them, where they've gone with this, but apparently this one looks pretty interesting in the fact that if you read this right here, it says HDR function is available by dividing exposure time in the 4 same color pixels into long exposure pixels and short exposure pixels, or dividing conversion gain in the 4 same color pixels into LCG pixels and HCG pixels. Quad Bayer raw function makes it possible to read out 4 same color pixels without additions. When normal operation, it says 4 same color pixels are added and made 1 pixel and output as Bayer pixel array. In addition, a group of divided 4 same color pixels is defined as 1 pixel unit in this product specification. So what does that mean? Have no idea. But
well, I'm not sure whether too that this means if this is similar to the Foveon sensor, because that I know that works with an RGB.
So is it taking one photo and giving you an HDR image?
Well, I'm not sure how that works, actually. I mean, I suppose, look, some tech heads, I'm sure, will be able to answer this, and they'll be able to put a comment down below about what they think about this. This is more important than what I wanted to show was Sony had 4 sensors here that were going to be announced. And obviously, one of these is sort of could be the A7R. But there's another couple in there that I think are interesting because there is a 15 megapixel with quad array, and I'm wondering whether that is going to be the A7S too. And that would mean, it makes sense that if you're dealing with 15 megapixels and this new quad array, that may be the A7S 2 sensor. The A7S 3, sorry. Mm-hmm. And the other ones that I'm just looking up there, there was another one I thought maybe the A9 one, which was there's a 48.9 megapixel stacked one, but that was
that's right
that
here.
Maybe I'm wondering whether that is the A9 one. But you'll notice that they're sort of all over the place. It doesn't tell you much when you're looking at it. There's a whole discussion down inside this about what they are, and I don't want to go into it because I'm not really that into the tech side of things. So I just wanted to sort of get people's opinions about if they think one of these sensors is going to be the A7S 3, and if also one of these sensors is going to be the A9 II, because they're the more interesting things that I wanted to sort of get from that discussion. But there has been these new sensors being brought out, and it's interesting. I know Oreo put some stuff about there. He's commenting now. I think it works by recording light at different sensitivities at the same time. Oh, he's saying Foveon is a different thing. Okay, thanks, Oreo. So it's just an interesting scenario. And really all I'd like to do is we're going to share this underneath the video. And anyone that does understand it, I'd love it if you could comment down below to just tell us what you think about these sensors and which camera you think it actually is related to, because I'd be really curious to know that. I think you've dropped out then for a second, Aaron, too.
Can you see me now? Hello.
Yeah, it's come back, but it's really bad quality.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to see if it comes back because I can't tell. So it's going to be interesting. What's Charbox said? No way Sony doesn't know how to do 4K 60. Yeah, well, we're probably right. I think they're just holding back at this stage. So,
well, wouldn't that be the point? Like the 15 megapixel quad array for the Sony A7S3 sounds right, because usually that's the camera that's really good in low light. It's the video centric camera, so they don't need more megapixels, and the more megapixels you have, the least, more noise you have and all that. So that actually does sound like it could be the one that would be in there. And then being that it's only 15 megapixels, then that means they could maybe run it to 6K or at least the 4K at higher bit depths with 60. Would this be the first full frame 4K 60p camera? Am I not mistaken by that? So
yes,
having the 15 megapixel sounds like that would be cool, because like the Casey always says that the camera conspiracy is he doesn't like the photographers, and that thing. So videographers would love that camera if that's what it's made for. So that sounds like it would probably be that. Now they might do something like that now they wouldn't even put that in a cheaper camera, because most cheaper cameras they bring out are usually high megapixel. So yeah, I think that might be the sensor for that. Makes sense.
Did you see how your quality looks on your screen? Can you see it?
No, mine looks really good.
Oh,
Well,
because
I don't.
I'm looking up here on the live feed, and it
I
looks
can't
really
see the live
blocky.
feed.
Yeah, can anyone mention if they can see Aaron okay, or does it look bad because I'm just looking on my side of it thing? No, Aaron is pixelating. Yeah, Gene just said, not sure what happened then. It just died, Aaron.
Yeah, maybe it's just my internet because everything looks okay here.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
well,
could
just
be.
deal with my blocky face, I guess.
Yep, you'll just have to deal with it. Don't know what's going on there. All right, so yeah, and that's what I'd like to say. So if you can let us know which sensor you think sort of fits there, it's going to be interesting. But just to sort of talk about that, it's very interesting. I put a whole video up too talking about how I think Sony was going to sell the sensor to Nikon, and I still think that makes sense to me. I know others were saying they don't think it will happen, but I think it will, and there's reasons why. Sony, and I mentioned this in the thing we were doing, Sony now are in the sensor business. They have a completely separate company that makes their sensors, and they've done that deliberately to isolate both companies from one another. But the issue is that Sony wants Nikon to do well because most of the price of these cameras that are produced is the sensor. So the sensor is the dearest part of these cameras that's out there. So if Sony can sell these sensors to Nikon and it does very well, remember, Sony is doing well out of that. Like, it's a win-win for Sony because they're going to sell the A7R IV, and they're also going to make money from the Sony Z8 if that comes out. So to me, it makes complete sense that they would do that because they're, like I said, they're still getting that money back. What they don't want to happen is for Nikon to go broke, or they don't want Nikon to go to, say, someone like Tower Jazz, and then Sony loses that money completely because remember, there's massive amounts of money in this sensor business. And I think the one thing, and this is why I laugh when Ken, the angry photographer, always goes on about Sony as a PlayStation company or whatever. It's actually an advantage of Sony having that because they have the money to do the R&D in sensor development and things like that. Does Canon do it? No. Does Nikon do it? No. Panasonic, I think, uses Tower Jazz and probably some Sony stuff. So it seems to be that it's only Sony that has the R&D funds to really produce these amazing sensors. And I can totally understand why they would want to keep that money rolling in because, like I said, if you count the money that you spend in your camera, I don't know how much in a percentage it would be, but it would be a fairly high percentage would be the sensor, Aaron.
Yeah, exactly. And I never understood that because Sony is a electronics company, why that matters. I have no idea. Maybe because they're kind of rolling out the same. I don't know. Why do you say that? I don't understand why that would make a difference. But the numbers speak for themselves because so many photographers get Sony and stick with Sony and love Sony. So does it? I don't think that matters. And I agree with you with everything you said there, basically. I'm still, some people were even saying, are they, the room, what did they say about the room or something about the RX, what is that new RX camera coming out? Is that the one that's coming out? And some people were thinking that they're going to put this new Bayer system in that camera. So that's, I don't know if you know anything about that.
Well, it's possible. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen. Well, we'll find out fairly soon. I think it was the RX 100 or something. We don't really know what RX it's going to be. They could just do anything. I still think it's going to be an RX camera that's going to be announced. It probably, even though I don't want that to happen, I think that's what it's going to be at this stage. And the next one may be the A7000 or the A7S. But I think it is going to be the RX one, and perhaps one of those new sensors. Charbox has said it's the RX10. V's coming out today. So it'll be interesting to see what sensor is in that and what features they give us with that camera. So, yeah, who knows?
Yeah, kind of strange. I think that'd be disappointing for some people, being that even though the new A7R4 is an amazing camera, people are a little disappointed in that just because that's not what they're looking for. And then an RX would come out. So I think people would be like, but then maybe they'll just kick it out of the park with something amazing after that, and everybody's like, yay, we're happy again. So who knows?
See, Casper said the market is drying up so super fast, so Sony should want to keep all the tech for Sony. But like I said, remember, they're making big money from selling those sensors, Casper. So that's the thing you've got to understand with that, which helps Sony. It helps their R&D and everything else. It doesn't mean, I think having the market, if Nikon disappeared, if Canon disappeared, Sony would stop innovating. There'd be no reason for them to innovate anymore, and we'd be left with that same camera for 4 years or so, because there'd be no reason for them to upgrade. So we don't want that to happen. We want a market that is open and everyone's succeeding, because it forces all the manufacturers to give us what we want. Otherwise, we won't get it.
Yeah, and at least Charbox is being very positive here on the next Sony.
Yes, yeah, probably no 4K 60, probably no dual SD, probably no good IBIS. So no need.
It's not going to have nothing. Just forget about it.
I know. But guys, if you can, any tech heads, I'd love you to have a look at that document and let us know in the comment box down below what you think each one of those sensors could be and what it's going to be for. It might be interesting to see. At least your videos come back a bit, Aaron, now, so which is good.
No more box man or whatever, pixel guy.
No, just improve then. All right, so let's go on to the next one, which is this selfish photographers, which is an interesting discussion because I read that. Yeah, what are we on? 25:51.
Hey guys, if you can give us a thumbs up on this video, it always helps us out. And let's go to this next one. Pretty funny here. Well, not funny, but you know. Let's see.
It's true though, isn't it? Because
it's funny. True. Yeah.
I'll let you take us through it if you like.
Do I have to click on that? Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Here's a really cool story here. It's Instagram. Stop being so selfish and disrespectful. Now, what this is about is photographers that go out and all they care about is their shot. They don't care about anything else but that. And when doing that, they'll be in other people's shots. They'll usually, just get the shot themselves. But this particular story, it's a really long story, and I read most of it. But what you see in this picture here is this is a farmer here that put this picture up. It's way out here, and they're kind of zoomed in to let you know what that is. And this is a lavender field, and you can see photographers out here getting shots of the lavender. And it got so bad that this is written by another photographer here. You guys got to read it. I'll put the link in the description. But when he got here to take this shots of these lavender, it was just mayhem. There was traffic everywhere. People parked, running across the street. They were trampling this poor farmer's lavender plants or flowers, and actually pulling bushels of them out so that the models will hold them. There were portable changing rooms set up. I mean, read the article. It was a disaster here. And these poor farmers, they're trying to say, respect our work, please, because they come out here, they invest all this money in the land and planting this stuff and harvesting it. And here's these photographers trampling it down and literally stealing it because they're ripping it out of the ground, which is illegal. And it's just not a very pleasant thing to witness. And I've seen this before myself, not here, but just different places. And yeah, it can get really, really, really out of hand. And this guy just shows some photos and examples. This guy actually, look how beautiful that is. On this shot, I think he said, while everybody was fighting to the left, he just walked down the street a little bit and took a beautiful shot over here. He didn't have to walk in the person's field. I think that's what he said in here. We'll have to read it again. But also, this might have been at another time, but he also read that he was so disgusted by everybody just doing that and disrespecting these poor farmers' fields that we saw in this picture, that he just didn't even feel like taking photos there anymore. And if I come down here, I think that might have been the same day he was taking a shot. Here's other photographers trampling everything down. And it's so funny because when I read this, I went out to a really popular field here in Puerto Rico that has these sunflowers. And here's my wife right here. And here's another shot right here. And by golly, when we went there, it was like I was trying to be so not noticed at all. I mean, I even told my wife, hey, I got to hide my camera. I just don't want to even bring it out. And let's be very, very quick about it. So I was being very ginger and delicate with everything, and we wouldn't pull anything out. Then you've got people out here just making a mess of stuff. So that's what do you think about this, David, before we go on?
Well, it's interesting because the down the bottom, if you keep scrolling down, Aaron, I think there was one of that tree that I shot actually in New Zealand. So keep going down, which is interesting. That's it there, yeah.
You tell this story.
It is stunning when you go there to shoot this lone tree in this lake at Wanaka. But it's gorgeous. And when I went early and there wasn't many people there at all. In fact, I flew a drone over. I wasn't meant to do that, but I did.
You're one of those. No.
Yeah, I know, I'm one of those. Yeah, but it wasn't too bad. But I noticed if you scroll down, which looks quite funny,
right here,
you can see here the line of photographers that are lining up there to get that the shot. You know, and it does, I suppose, just get crazy. When I went, there wasn't many there at all, which it must depend on when you go, I suppose, or what time of year it is or something. But, you know, and then you're getting guys now that are starting to go out into the water, and then obviously they're stopping the shot for everyone else.
Look,
and someone camped out there. Yeah, sitting on the tree. I mean, that is just terrible. Apparently that was a Japanese lady doing a wedding video over there or something. But these sort of people, she could damage that tree, and that is just absolutely disgusting, you know. And if you go down, I think there's even one which is even funny. I think is it the Taj Mahal in India or something. There was one I saw like that, and I just laughed when I saw it because it was like 30,000 photographers all lined up. Where was that?
Oh
yeah, there.
God.
Look at that. I mean, that would do my head in because honestly, I would want to turn the opposite way and shoot something else because you could just go out and buy a postcard or anywhere and have it shot from someone else. Like that is just nuts. I mean, I think that is ludicrous.
Yeah, for me, I want to take shots that nobody's getting. Like when we went to that the rally just yesterday in Puerto Rico here, I seen people shooting the same things. I don't want to shoot. My wife said, "Hey, take a photo." I said, "There's already like a million photos of that same thing. I don't want to take it because it just you know, you don't want to take the same thing." And look at that. I mean, that's
that is nuts. So it's interesting. So. I mean, look, I do it when the canola fields come out here. I jump in over the fence and take a shot, but I do try and not damage. Like they're saying that people were actually picking the velvet, what is it, the lavender
for the models to hold,
things like that. Yeah, to hold and all this sort of stuff. And I've done that before too when I go to Lavandula here, but I ask for permission and they like me going there because I promote their thing. So I ask. And they actually often pick it for me, and then I can use it that way. But these people are just trotting over the fence, damaging the lavender, picking it for themselves, and you know, and it's pretty disgusting that you know, and it probably is this Instagram world that we live in now that everyone is just doing ridiculous things to get that shot that they can post.
That's the point of the story too. Is Instagram's so popular when someone sees something. That's okay. Let me back up. When this guy took this photo, this is the writer of this story. He actually took this. I forget what year it was. I read so much on the article, I don't remember. But he took this a long time ago, and you could see there's like hardly anybody here because he said this wasn't a very popular place at the time. I mean, maybe it was, but not like it is now. And because of Instagram and everybody posting this shot now, because of Instagram, it looks like this when you go, even, you know, this is sunrise. So you get there early, you think you're going to be the first one. Well, nope, everybody's like going to be there already. And then they start sitting on the tree that could actually damage the tree. And then, I mean, it's just disgusting. So yeah.
When I went, I think I went 2 years ago and did it. It was fairly quiet. There was a few there by the time I'd finished, but it was nothing like what it is now. Obviously, the Instagram feed has caught up with it. And now everyone wants to, you know, grab that look. But it is a shame. And, you know, but anyway, we just thought we'd share it.
Yeah, and real quick, just so that you see this, when these photographers set up, these farmers came out like later and then put this up. And then some of the photographers actually got mad at the farmer, just verbally, you know, amongst themselves saying, oh, how ridiculous he was to do this and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, it's his land, my goodness. And so they just kind of, you know, move their cameras to get away from that. So, yep. That's about it.
All right. So next story is the Ronin S. Let me just put the time in there. What are we? 33. Actually, it's 34.
I'll just keep my screen capture on, David, if you want to start on this one. You've got a lot of these.
So it looks like there's a new DJI Ronin that's been announced. It's the SC. So it's a lighter version of the Ronin S, which seems to be, it has some nice features. So I suppose this is going to compete with, say, the Moser Aircross and the Firetech AK2000 I've recently reviewed. The only thing I don't like about this is the fact there's no screen on this at all. So you have to go through your iPhone if you want to edit any of the features, whereas, say, the AK2000 and even my Moser Air 2 has digital screens on it that you can move around. But there's some interesting features like you see here. You can put your phone on the top, and then you can use it to track. Now, I'm not sure how gimmicky this is, because it's certainly not something I'd probably want to do, because I saw, I think it's Ayatollah, the girl reviewed this, and she said it took forever to balance. Obviously, because it's such a high center of gravity, then it's going to be a nightmare to try and balance. But it does track if you want to do that. And then it will, all you do is, it's like using the Moza Air, the drones that are out there, the Mavics. You just sort of draw around the object, and then it will track the object and follow them. I'm not sure if that's
kind
really
of weird.
Yeah, it's just a gimmick. I think
Yeah, can't you just do like the Osmo? And I have a Zhiyun crane too, where it has like that follow mode, where if you easily twist it, it kind of dampens to the left or right. And can't you just kind of follow someone like that? And
I don't know. I mean, I think it's more gimmicky than anything else. But look, it looks like it seems to be a good. I think there's no such thing really now as a bad gimbal. But the downside is, obviously, it will only take a smaller amount of weight and things like that.
Does it say how much here?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
2.4 pounds?
Yeah, 2.4 pounds. So, and it's 40% one lighter than the Ronin S. But having a look at this, I mean, I'd like to see if I can get a review unit, because CR Kennedy they are a distributor of these. I mean, I'd like to have a go at it. But like I said, I love to be able to just manipulate that touch screen and do the things that I need without having to use the mobile, your phone. And that's one of the great things about it. I mean, it does have tracking where you can track with the phone. I've got that on my Moza Air Cross, and I never use it. I bought the remote control to do that, and I think I've used it once or twice playing around, and I've never used it since. Others might have a different use for that. I'm not sure, but it doesn't excite me that much looking at it. I think looking at that alone, I'd probably go for that AK2000 if that was me, just for those controls that I've got inside the camera. Or I'd go for the Moza Air 2 or even the Ronin S. I think I'd go for the bigger one to have that ability to put your larger G Master lenses or whatever else you want to be putting on there as well. But anyway, we thought we'd show it. Let us know in the comments what you think about it. Do you think this is good?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
No, I'm not a fan of anything where I have to hook my phone up to. Even like the Osmo Pocket, I didn't get that for the phone. I got it just so I can use it. And anytime I hook a phone up to stuff, I don't know. There's like always little delays on it. And then of course, the battery, I'm always worrying about the battery and then using the phone later. It just seems fiddly to me. So I would rather just use anything without a phone. Do you use anything with the phone on it now, or?
No, not really. Well, like I said, you can plug it into the Osmo and other things that I've got, but I don't do it. The only thing I'm going to use it with the phone is that thing I've got back there, which was that Sinai. That's this thing.
Yeah, show us, David. Do tell. Show and tell.
That. So that's the only thing that I'll be using.
I didn't understand what it. Oh, sorry. I didn't understand what it was when you briefly mentioned it.
What it does, Aaron, is it's really interesting because I do weddings and stuff on my own, and I'm shooting the video on my own usually. I can set this up on a camera, and you just attach it using, like any of the brackets or whatever onto your camera, a hot shoe, cold shoe adapter. That plugs into your camera, and then it wirelessly feeds over 100 meters to my iPhone or iPad. So it means I could set up a second camera in the wedding and have it sort of as a second camera looking at the bride and groom over there. And I never know whether that's recording or whether something's happened or whatever. Well, I can see it from this, and it has things like scopes. It's got everything in there apparently that you can check how the video is. And it works up to 100 meters. So seems like it's a really interesting product. So when they asked me if I'd like to review it, I thought yes, because being like that lone sort of hybrid shooter, I think this might really help me as a second camera operator that I don't have to hire. I can have that there working, and then I can be checking what's on. Someone just said, can you control the camera? No, I don't think so. I think it's just to make sure that the video feed is still working. But what I am interested in to see is if I can, say, take it into the Ninja and then be recording on the Ninja, the Ninja V, that should work because it's just a video feed. So I'll have to play around with it anyway and see what it's for. But it's more for things like monitoring things from distance and checking everything's okay, working. You can see that, you know, that it's in focus, because the screen looks like it's very good quality up to 100 meters. And 100 meters is a long way.
Well, yeah, it probably works better. Can't you just do that with like the Sony app or something like that?
No, that won't go up to that. I don't think that'll go
Yeah.
up to 100 meters.
Because that thing's got antennas and probably more juice to pump out. But that is pretty cool because, yeah, when you got a camera in the back filming like the wide scene of a wedding or something, you're just always like, did it stop? Did it did the battery die, or is it still filming? So yeah, pretty cool device. Yeah,
but I'll let you know how it is when I review it. But that's probably the only thing that I'm going to use with an iPhone. I just can't be bothered usually lugging the iPhone around. Well, I'd rather lug it around, but I can't be bothered attaching it to these devices like the Pocket, the Osmo Pocket and the Osmo Action. I just prefer to shoot with it as it is, make it minimal, and then, just sort of download it. And they have screens in these now, so it's not like they don't have screens in them anymore. Whereas like the old GoPros never used to have the screens that you could see, so you needed to attach your phone. You don't really need to do that anymore.
That's good, because anything I don't have to do with my phone, I'm happy.
It's only stuff like this, where if you were attaching that to the car on the outside, on the suction cups, then having it onto the phone can be handy because you can see what it's filming. So I do that sometimes with it on a suction cup stuck on the front of the car, and then be filming driving through something or whatever. So I like that because then you can stop and start record through the phone and things like that. So that makes sense, but it's only if you can't physically hold it, that you get a problem.
I never thought of, that's kind of weird. Saw some static there. Yeah, that's kind of a cool idea, actually, because I have a suction cup mount too, and I've never thought about using the phone to start and stop the footage, because I would just record it from the camera and then just do whatever scene I was thinking about and just let it, if I had to do a U-turn and do something again, I just kept letting it go. But yeah, having that app would be kind of cool to just do it. So good tip.
I love Mark says Gadget Man and Pixel Man will save the world.
Dude, I'm going to make up some spandex costumes for us now.
G'day, Langston. Langston's joined us as well. Jeff said, can you control the camera with that? I don't know, Jeff. I don't think so. I think it's only for review, for monitoring. But I'll let you know when I review it, because I'm not sure.
You have to have an app, right, to download from that same company?
Yeah, it just says you've got to have an app. It's got a 3,500 amp battery inside it. It will do up to 100 meters. And from the tests I've seen it actually is usable up to 100 meters. It's a 5G wireless video transmitter. So I'll let you know anyway about what it does. I won't know until I review it. So I got it more, like I said, because I like to do that remote viewing when I'm doing weddings, because I've always been terrified, because I do video and stills at the same time. I've always been terrified about what that camera's doing that I've got in the corner and I can't see, and I haven't got the time to go around, because if I did, I might miss shooting the ring shot of the kiss. Well, I don't have to worry about that anymore now, because I can just have it running, check my iPhone to make sure it's still doing everything it's meant to be doing, and then just keep shooting. So for me, it might be a real godsend, I think.
And the other really cool thing about that is for for if you're doing a short film for like a director type situation, where if the director is in a tent and you're out there, the director's tent, and you're out there filming stuff, then he can just easily have a small little device that he can just kind of carry it around and not have to have anything big. I'm talking about, smaller projects, and he can just look down and say, oh yeah, that angle is not what I wanted, and then he can redirect. So yeah, it's kind of a cool device. I'll look into that.
That's what they were for, Aaron. That's what they were originally developed for, was to say, give to a director to look at what was happening on the shoot.
Yeah, I do like that idea. They don't have to, they can kind of move around a little bit, because a director's tent usually have a screen with, of course, we're talking small projects because they have big screens and they're all tethered and all that stuff. But small short films, I think it could work really good. Another thing is, I would like to do, if you do a test on that, I would like to see if you were filming in a car driving and I was outside the car with the iPhone, how far can you drive? How far would the signal go getting outside the car? Because that's another thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you're filming someone, you don't want to have the director in the back seat, because maybe he'll be seen in the shot. But if he can be a cheap way of being a car next to the car or something like that, just to see how the feed goes. Because I remember we did a when I had the Panasonic cameras, I used the app to have the director see it. And one of the shots, you could see him in there because it was kind of a wide shot and actually had two people being interviewed in this shot, and he couldn't fit in there. So he was in another car driving as we go, but the app didn't work. So this might be kind of a cool solution for that.
Yeah, I'll let you know. All right, so that's that anyway. So let's go on to the next one, because this is another crane story actually, or another
more gimbals.
Gimbal. What are we on? 45.
How many
10.
gimbals do you actually physically have in your possession right now?
Ooh, I've got 1, 2,
You gotta think
3,
about it.
4, 5, 6.
Oh my gosh, man! That's
Yeah, I know. I know.
Wow.
It's like a gimbal junkie. I should sell a few of them or give them away.
Yeah,
or
you
something.
should.
Yeah, I know. I should, but I've got a few of them. That's for sure.
Wow, I got one. I had it for like years now.
All right, so this one is, I noticed Zhiyun have just released a new compact gimbal. Now, these look like they'd be fun, and these may be great too if you wanted to use something like this, like the Osmo Action on it, because...
You want me to switch to you?
Yeah, for a second. The Osmo Action, one of the problems is when you shoot in 4K 60, you lose the stabilization. So that's one of the problems that
I didn't know that.
lose when you use this. So I often shoot with 2.7K so that you keep the stabilization there. I think it's still there if you shoot 4K 30, but not 4K 60. So you can switch back to the thing if you like. So having one of these stables would be a real advantage if you want to shoot 4K 60 and then still have it stabilized, because these are small ones. They're designed for something like the RX series of cameras, things like that, iPhone obviously, and also for action cameras. And so it looks like it's a really nice little unit. It says you can put an A6400 on there as well, because the A6400 is a nice little camera. And I do like it. I've got the Zhiyun Crane M, so I've got the first version of this. And I do love using that if I'm only using my A6400 with something like the 10 to 18 millimeter lens on there, because they are so light and tiny and you can use them all day. So this is a new one that's just out. Looks like it'll be really good.
Looks really nice.
Yeah, for what it is. And I think it may be something that it might be another one that I end up purchasing. I don't know, but or getting. I'm not sure. But I do love the version M, and this obviously looks more like an Osmo, the Osmo Mobile. Actually, when you look at it, it looks very similar to the Osmo Mobile that I've also got. That's for the phones. So it's a similar handle to that. So it looks like it's a similar feel. But overall, really nice looking little unit. Very light. Like I said, great for travel. Take it around all day. And you could use it for your Osmo Action mobile phone, and also for something like an A6400 as well, if you're traveling with a minimal type setup. You can see it's got an LCD screen there and everything as well.
Where?
So just up the top above the handle. Yeah, it's just not turned on there. Yeah.
What does that show?
Well, it doesn't show. Well, I can't see anything, but it looks like it's an LCD screen to me.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think it might be a winner. What they're saying, what's it priced at, Aaron? Does it say?
I don't know.
I was looking down the bottom. I think 270. I think available for pre-order for $270.
Retail price $450.
Some retailers are currently listing the eventual price as $450. Wow. So the pre-order looks like it's a good thing if you are thinking about getting that. Whether they're saying whether that's a mistake or not. Interesting anyway. So it looks like it's $270, which is good. I mean, that's a great price for a small gimbal like that that'll take your phone, A6400.
How much weight?
Also the Action.
How much weight does it hold?
I don't know. I don't know if it's said. Well, it will obviously take an A6400, 500 grams. I know it weighs 500 grams. It does have an OLED display. It says there. It takes 1.59 pounds.
Yeah,
20 grams.
How much does an A6400 weigh?
I can't remember.
Battery? Anybody know in the chat? Anybody can Google that?
It'd be well under that though, I think.
Oh wow, well that would be pretty cool, because when did they took out the image stabilization in the A6400, but the A65 and 63 has image stabilization?
Yep, so it does, and that's why I'm saying that's why if I'm using the A6400 for video, I stick it on a gimbal. And that's why this might be a real nice one if you just want to travel very light. I mean, we'd have to review it to see how it works, but I know the Crane M works great with the A6400. So I can't see why it wouldn't work. I'm sure they wouldn't have down spec'd it over what that is. And I love that little gimbal. It's a great little gimbal.
If it's only $270, that's pretty fair, I would say, because that's if you already have an A6400 and the amazing camera A6400, as amazing it is, having that, I mean, that would outbeat like something like the what is that thing I have? What's that thing I have, David, that you never use?
The Osmo Pocket.
Yeah, the Osmo Pocket. That's actually, of course, it's a lot larger, but the quality would be superior from that.
So the next thing we're going to do before we show our photos is we're going to take you through, and this was interesting because Aaron said he'd like to talk about this, and I thought, well, yes, please, because as you know, if you watched my video yesterday, I did say that I just purchased an iPad Pro, the 12.9-inch one. So I've got the one that Aaron has just purchased, actually. So we've both got the same one. And I was saying that I've just purchased some video apps, and I spoke to Aaron about this the day before, about what he recommended. So when he said that he wanted to talk about this, I thought, yes, please, because I bet there's a lot of photographers out there too that are thinking about moving over to having an iPad instead of a laptop. And I said this the other day, that I was thinking seriously about using my iPad full on for a while to see how I go with not using my Mac Pro. And so I thought this would be a great discussion. So Aaron's going to take us through sort of using the iPad Pro for video and stills and how he works it all out. But before we started that, what was the question that I asked you earlier, Aaron, about the iPad? I asked you a question about, and we said we'd discuss that later on.
Oh my gosh, doesn't that figure?
I know, it's typical, isn't it? What was it?
You asked me, we were talking about traveling with it.
Yeah, we were talking about traveling with it. We said that, and there was something else. Oh, it might come back to me as we're going through it.
We don't care about talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, what was it?
Anyway,
well,
doesn't matter.
Maybe come up with it.
So you can take us through it anyway?
Yeah, if you guys know me, I've talked about this numerous times about I've been using the iPad for my professional photography for many years now. When I first started switching over to an iPad, it was on, well, I'm not going to go get it, an iPad Air 2. It was decent, but it wouldn't handle RAW files and all that stuff, so you had to do all this other little things to get the RAW files in there and all that. But now it's just like, it works better than my Lightroom on my computer. And I have a very fast computer. It just works so much better. I mean, it loads the photos like instantly. And we're talking about Lightroom at this point, and it's so quick. So when it comes to photos, I got to do a whole video on my YouTube channel about this because it's pretty in depth. Can
I just ask a question? What memory did you buy in your iPad? What size memory was in there?
Whatever the biggest one is. Is it what, 512 or something?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, 512. That's kind of important too. When it comes to phones, for me, I 32. I mean, I don't really care because I don't use phones much except for call and to search things and social media type stuff. But when it comes to an iPad, if you're going to be doing photo, and we'll get into some video here in a minute, you're going to want the biggest one just because, you're doing photography professionally, so you're going to be putting lots of photos on here. Now, when I do import photos on here, iOS 13 is coming soon, and David already has been playing around with that, and that's going to change my workflow. That's why I'm kind of holding off for a video. But the main apps that I use is a Lightroom Mobile, which is super, super cool because once you put the photos in here, I delete them from the what do you call this? The photo app. And now I'm working all in Lightroom, and it's just so quick. I mean, they go in there so quick. You can pinch to zoom. You can use, a pencil, which I've been using, mice for a long time before I switched to that. And then, of course, you can get those Wacom tablets. But, I mean, this is like you're working on a huge high-definition Wacom tablet. And all my photos in the last, I would say, 5 years have been sitting on my couch or in a coffee shop or in the bed while my wife's watching TV, and I'm sitting there fixing my photos. It's so easy. It's super accurate. I don't know all the specifications of the nits per whatever and all these little things, but it's just so accurate. And anyways, once I bring them into Lightroom, that's where I do all my raw processing. I manipulate the highlights, shadows, and all that. After that, I output it to, I don't know if you guys can see that. This one here is called Affinity Photo. And Affinity Photo is probably, it's amazing. It does everything that a photographer would need as far as like skin retouching and all. It does everything, but that's my skin retouching program. I do frequency separation, which is actually easier in Affinity Photo than Photoshop, because in Photoshop, unless you set up a preset to do everything, when you just click on frequency separation and it already makes the layers for you and all that stuff, and then you just go in there and start doing your thing. Whereas in Photoshop, you have to kind of add the layer and do all that stuff. So it's so much quicker to do that in here, and the resolution is just absolutely amazing. And if you're using a desktop, of course, you're using a clunky mouse, and if you don't have a really high definition monitor, it can be kind of slow. Well, the iPad is just the best thing. The battery lasts long. So once I do all my frequency separations or removing things from the photo, I don't even have a photo in here. If I were to look, oh, here, let's go back. I didn't set this up beforehand, but you also have focus stacking. So when I do my jewelry photography, I have a video on this on how I do it with the iPad. I take multiple photos of the jewelry with different focus points. And then in here, once I put them in here, I just click on a focus merge. You're not going to see this really good, but focus merge, you click the photos that you want to merge and just hit OK. And then you wait I don't know, not even a minute, half a second, not half a second, half a minute, I don't know. And it focus stacks for you with just the iPad. So when I've been doing jewelry for like a little over a year now, and I just bring this with me and I focus stack and I just do everything right from here. I don't need to take them home later. I can do it right there in the jewelry store itself. So it's really cool. Then you also have other type panorama stack. What else? You've got HDR stacking. You've got all that stuff right inside Affinity Photo with the iPad Pro. And because the iPad Pro is so fast, nothing skips. I never have any of these apps crash on me. Doing PC, of course, you can have some crashing. And what else? I don't know, Dave, do you have any questions before I'm rambling on?
Well, it's like I said, I think iOS 13 is going to change this completely due to the fact that you can now start to attach the hard drives and everything onto these things. That's the bell, Aaron. Can you keep chatting?
For it. Yeah. So as he was saying, the cool thing about that new iOS 13 is, and why it's going to change my workflow, is when I don't know if you've seen them yet. We should have had a little photo of this, but there's like a little dock that you can snap onto your iPad and plug it into the port here, and that gives you a SD card slot on there. It gives you headphone out if you have one of the newer iPads, I think, because they got rid of the headphone out. So it gives you that. And then it gives you USB 3.0, which is cool. So what I would do then is just take my memory card right out of my camera, stick it into the SD card slot, and I would offload those to my iPad, then put them into Lightroom, and then also, while it's still there, offload that SD card to then the hard drive that would be connected to that that port that's going to be available soon. I think you can buy it now, but you got to wait till iOS 13. So now you have a backup on your hard drive. You have a backup in your iPad, and I always use Adobe Cloud or whatever that's called. So they also go over there. So now you got all these backups, and it really makes things quite amazing. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave them there. We'll wait for Dave to come back because I know he wanted to ask me something about it before we get into the video thing. Let me see what you guys are saying. Anybody there use the iPad for photo fixing? Let me check the chat. I don't see anybody talking about that. Now with the iOS 13, what is Mark saying? Now with the iOS 13, the iPad is a much better travel option. Yeah, I mean, I still was using this before, which is a little finicky, if you're used to a laptop. But with iOS 13, it's just like, it's going to make things really easy, especially with that hard drive. Jaime, what's up? Thanks for stopping by. You just started dabbling in it. I mean, I don't have my glass. I can't read it. Very good. Nevik said he just started dabbling in it. Are you talking about the iPad and stuff? Here comes David with his new lens or something. Is that a new lens, David?
I have to laugh because I thought, I'm not getting anything delivered, and I just got another gimbal.
Oh, you got to be kidding me. That is ridiculous.
I just got another gimbal. Well, this is the iSteady Pro 2. Now this is for the Osmo Action. So I'm going to be putting the Osmo Action fits on this. Like you can see, it's for the GoPro and the Osmo Action. I laughed when I went to the door. The wedding album is here as well, so they both came together. So I'm thinking, oh, we were just talking about gimbals, and I got
so hilarious. Now you got 8.
I know. I'm excited to try this though. I can't wait to use this with the Osmo Action. So what were you talking about? Were you going through what? There?
Yeah, I was just talking. Mark brought up the fact that now with iOS 13, it's going to kind of change things for portable use and travel, because I used to use a laptop a long time ago, but now, well, I still use the iPad even without the iOS 13. But with that, I was telling them, I think you didn't. I forget who I was talking to in messaging, but you can get a little dock that hooks up to this. No, it was you on one of your last videos.
Yeah, I bought that. Yeah, and I have purchased that with my own money, by the way.
Yeah, and it comes with an SD card slot. So now I would take the card right out of the camera, stick it in there, offload it to my iPad Photos app, whatever, and then into Lightroom, and then offload that, whether from the card or the iOS itself, I don't know which would be faster, to the external hard drive. So now I got 2 backups there, and then take the card, put it back in the camera, and I would be good to go. So it's going to change things, how I back up my stuff. And then when I get home, I've already got a hard drive with them on there, but I would probably offload them then yet to another hard drive and not have to have my card sitting around waiting for it or whatever. But it's going to change things drastically. So I was talking about that. And
did you go through LumaFusion? Did you discuss that yet?
I did not do that. I'm going to wait till you come back before we got in the video. Have you remembered what we were talking about?
No, I can't. But the interesting thing is, I noticed, has yours got the USB-C on it, your iPad? Is it this one before that which has the your normal Apple connector?
Normal Apple connector, and yours doesn't have a headphone jack, right?
No, but I noticed the good thing about this is, because I noticed Langston, they're all talking about having larger screens. Well, I can just plug mine into it's just a HDMI, and I can go and use a 4K big massive monitor. So I could be doing all of this editing on this by connecting it into a big monitor.
And with that adapter I was telling you guys with the SD card slot and USB, it also has an HDMI out. Yeah. So for people like me who don't have that, you can buy the adapter and do all that stuff. But with that, just one piece, it's like a laptop basically. It's giving you the features of that. So that's really, really cool. That's going to just further increase this. Now let's talk about video. For video, there's so many apps. We'll show you something on there in a minute. But for that, I mean, if you just spend a little time in Google, what's the best video app on iOS, you're going to see a couple different ones out there. But the best really, and I've tried them all, is LumaFusion. I don't know if you can see that one there, LumaFusion. This one here is just, it gives you 3 layers. So if you want to put, text on top of things, if you want to put photos on top and, shrink them down and put them here when you're talking about it, just anything, any PNG, whatever you put on there, and you got 3 layers of that. You also got multiple layers of audio. I forget they come up with updates on this all the time, so it's not like a dead program. And I don't know, I don't have nothing loaded, but it's at least 3 audio tracks, but I think it might be more than that. And it's really cool to use. Now I don't use the pen. They just had an update for this, and I have to try it out. But I don't use this with that just because I feel that
do you prefer to use your finger? Do you find is the screen adequate for doing video editing on that 12.9-inch screen?
It's okay. It takes a little getting used to, because here at home I've got 2 monitors, so it's going from 2 monitors into two 22 or 24-inch monitors. Going from those to this, it is kind of like but I've did multiple videos on my YouTube channel, nothing professionally yet, but on YouTube. And I mean, I was able, when I'm doing my reviews or I'm talking about a photo, I mean, I can just layer it, shrink it. And I do use my finger because I just feel like the buttons and stuff on here are more adequate to a bigger surface area like your finger instead of something small like that. And in order to fit the timeline on, this would be the timeline, so you'd see like your wave, your audio wave and all that. You just pinch and you kind of shrink it in, and then if you want to zoom out, so you're doing a lot of that, whereas if you're using a bigger screen, of course, you don't have to do as much zooming in and out. So keep that in mind. But as far as the iPad Pro 12.9. It's so fast. I mean, it easily does 4K 60p. I mean, just like there is zero hiccups at all. And I even overlaid two 4K videos before and made one like a picture-in-picture type thing, and it just, there was nothing. I mean, and it actually renders faster than After Effects. Now, of course, you can use Adobe Premiere, which is actually faster than After Effects. Sometimes I use After Effects for whatever reason, just because I'm good at it. But it was just so much faster now. So it's just weird how much faster it is than some of my PC desktop stuff. So it's really amazing. And in here you can, they give you, oh, here's the other thing. With that iOS 13 and a hard drive, now I have a huge collection of sound bites and audio files and background music and all that stuff that I can now keep on an external portable hard drive and stick it in the little dock I was telling you guys about. And now wherever I'm at, and this was the big problem, is I can just bring over video, audio files for my tracks. If I wanted to do that now, it's a pain in the butt because iOS just doesn't want you to get like audio files of this thing. It's such a workaround to do that. And they do give you like a store where you can get free ones or buy them, but I have so many already. So having iOS 13 with a hard drive is going to be great. And that iOS 13, you're going to be using the files section of your iPad, and that's where everything's going to be stored. So it's really good. And if you guys haven't, tried editing a photo yet, try Affinity Photo. Frequency separation is, for me, easier on that than the desktop version of Photoshop.
So is there just that frequency separation? Is there just a thing you click on to access that? Is it?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to find it because they think I have to load.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah, doesn't matter. I'm just curious.
Under like your not filters, effects or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
You scroll down till you see frequency separation. You click on it, and it does all the layering for you, and you're ready to go. Then you just, a little bit of a learning curve is you just have to pick the brush and use the, a black or a white one and stuff like that. Yeah. But that's like the same as Photoshop, but it's easy just to start it up, and it's really, really good. And the cool thing about it is Lightroom, I hope they fix this, is you can only output JPEG at whatever quality Lightroom, I think it's just the original quality. With Affinity Photo is where I do all of my photos that I do for magazines, because it lets you export in that, what is that Y? You always remember that format, David.
CMYK.
Yeah. Lets you output like that with PNG, TIFF, and all the professional files on that Affinity Photo. So magazines for me, that's the one I use, and I don't need a desktop at all for my photo manipulation, and it's quite amazing.
Well, I'm just in initial testing, I'm blown away by how powerful these little iPads are. Like Apple have done an incredible job with that. It's multi-core. I think it's 8 cores or some ridiculous thing. I mean, it's seriously, it's when they did benchmarks, it's up with some of the iPad Pros. I think it's not the latest ones, but the ones before that, it's up with that. And I think because the software is so optimized and they make sure that it runs so fluently on these iPads, for memory usage and everything else, that it just seems to absolutely fly. And with iOS 13, you open things up and it's instant. They work just unbelievably quick. The pen only has, I think it's 5 seconds of latency or something like that. Shush, Siri. And I think it's outstanding. That's why I'm excited about trying this for, like I said, to use it as a laptop replacement. I really like the keyboard on this as well. It's a full-size keyboard on the iPad Pro 12.9 inch. So you're not sacrificing really anything on the keyboard sides of things. And with iOS 13, you can add a mouse if you want to add a mouse to it.
Oh, yeah, mouse.
You can add your hard drives if you want to have your hard drives. The split screens inside of it work wonderfully. I was playing around with that last night as well, copy and pasting things between screens. It seems to me to be awesome. And I really think, and I've always loved learning new things. And I think I'm going to really enjoy this challenge I'm sort of giving myself to use it, apart from what I'm doing now. And I think you could even do that on there now, because in the new version of iOS 13, the browser is a desktop browser. So it's not a mobile browser anymore. So you can get the full YouTube browser in there. You can get the full YouTube Studio in there, so you could go live just like you do with what we're doing here. So it's got everything in there, like running like a desktop now. And, you know, and I think it seems to be brilliant. I'm loving it so far.
Now, I was going to say the one thing it doesn't have, and I was wishing, and it's probably because they want to keep selling laptops, I asked my friend this, is I so wish it had an HDMI input, because if I had an HDMI input on my iPad Pro, then what you're watching right now, I would just connect my
camera.
though,
Aaron, on mine, because it's USB-C. All I need to buy is see, with the new one, the USB-C, you just have to buy the converter and it will go in. The attachment that I've just bought, it will take HDMI in. So you can put a camera directly in.
Oh my gosh. See, that would be so cool, because I would just use this and not all this. I mean, this thing's taking up my whole room here. So we're getting really close for me not even to have PC, except for special effects within After Effects. That's the only thing that I would probably be using this desktop.
But you need the USB-C to do that, as well as run the hard drives, because the problem is the old adapter, like what you've got, hasn't got enough power to drive a lot of the hard drives. That's the problem, whereas USB-C will drive them. And like I said, you can buy all the adapters for HDMI and everything else, and you could take the HDMI in.
That's really cool. Now, another app that I was looking for and I forgot because I went off on rabbit trails like I usually do, is it's called Adobe Premiere Clip. It's an app that when you open up the app, it's like an editor, it's a very basic editor, but it's kind of cool if you do most of your editing on the desktop and you want to remain doing that. With Adobe Premiere Clip, let's say you're on vacation or something and you want to do YouTube channels or something more, whatever, let's say a YouTube channel, and you film your stuff and you put it on your iPad, you can open up Adobe Premiere Clip and put it on a timeline and start editing it. Maybe basic edits, go through clips that work or don't work, put them in situations if you're, sitting in your hotel room and, you didn't want to go to the pool and your wife's there, whatever, you have that time you could do. Then when you get home, through the Adobe Cloud, once you open up a Premiere Pro, that same file, that same timeline will pop up in Premiere Pro. So everything is just like you had it on your iPad. So you can get a lot of work done on some downside with Premiere Pro Clip and an iPad Pro. So that's something you guys might be interested in. For me, I would rather I use DaVinci Resolve to do all my stuff, so it doesn't work for me. But if you do use that, that's a pretty cool app to use as well.
Yeah, and it seems to be, like I said, I'm really excited about using it. From what I've looked at, the video one, which you talked about before, looks very similar to Final Cut, Aaron. Do you find it's, have you used Final Cut before?
I'd never used Final Cut before, but I've seen it, I've seen videos on it.
Well, it seems to me to be, when I looked at it fairly quickly, that it's got a very similar feel to how Final Cut works. So I'm hoping it doesn't take much to, to transfer over, which should be good, I think. But yeah, I'm excited about using it. The only other thing that I bought, which you haven't mentioned, was I just wanted it because I wanted a full audio thing as well. But I got this other app, which is called Hosai, I think, Hokusai, and that's an audio app that gives you professional audio features, because sometimes I like to really get in and manipulate the audio side of things. So I purchased that. It was free, but then you pay for an upload where you can do panning, everything else. So that's the only thing. So I think I can get by with the photo app you were talking about, LumaFusion, and that Hokusai, I think it's called. I think I can get by with those three apps to do full-on video work like I'm doing now on my Mac Pro, which should be. The only other thing I got was that thing called Liquid Text, which is great for doing research and things like that. That Liquid Text looks unbelievable how it performs for grabbing things off web pages and just dragging them around, moving them and keeping those bits and stuff like that. So, it's exciting because it's all new. I can take it anywhere I'm going, minimalistic. Just fantastic, Aaron. I'm really excited about it.
Here's one thing we didn't mention, and that is audio. When it comes to audio, as far as recording audio, there's been many times where I was, on a trip and I wanted to, and I do YouTube. I do a lot of YouTube videos from my mom's house in Georgia because there's more downtime than if I'm traveling in other countries and stuff. And one thing that I always had an issue of is getting audio into my voice into the iPad. I know you can get some microphones and stuff, but I tried a few times, it didn't work or something. I don't know, but to get more of a professional audio in, you can use it's a little like mixing box called iRig. And that allows you to input audio and then, of course, use mixers and all that. There's a mosquito here. And if I were to do what we were talking about, using my camera into an iPad Pro to do the show like this and get a, do away with the PC, then I would definitely get that iRig. That way I'd have proper audio. And I mean, you got a a mirrorless camera with, good output quality, an iPad Pro, maybe the newer ones like David has, so you can do the HDMI in, and an iRig with a little mixer on it. I mean, my goodness, you could do really professional videos and without a PC, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it really is. So, I'm sort of really keen, can't wait to start really getting into it a little bit and using it. So, and that'll be all I'll take to the US. So I'm not going to take my MacBook Pro. When I come to the US, I'm just going to take the iPad with me, minimize the stuff I'm lugging around. Hopefully, like I said, once everything's nutted out with iOS 13, I'll be able to get the camera in and do live broadcasts from it and everything like that. So it should be fantastic. Really exciting.
What you should do is do maybe whenever you have time, do your next YouTube video using the iPad. Don't make it too complicated for you, and just make a video and start editing on there and see how it works out, because that way before you go, you kind of get the hang of it and doing something like an actual project. And then I'd like to see how it works out.
So we're 1 hour 16. Do we want to quickly show our photos, or should we just go to just Q&A for a minute?
Yeah, we'll go to Q&A.
Yep. All right. So let's just see what people are saying in here. I'm just going to grab some questions. We won't read everything out, guys, because we'll be here forever. I can feel a coffee time is just starting to hit me. I can't believe that. I can't believe that came. That's hilarious. That's when we were talking about gimbals. That's funny. I forgot about that, actually.
That's hilarious.
So Mark says you could use your iPad instead of the phone for a larger screen. Oh, we were talking about the other thing back there. Yeah. What else have we got? Gene says, is the Osmo action stabilized at 4K 48? No. Anything above 4K 30, I believe it's not stabilized anymore. That's the reason why I wanted one of these, is due to the fact that if I want to shoot 4K 60, I can then have it stabilized. And the other thing too, the advantage with turning stabilization off is your screen in the Osmo Action and the Pocket gets slightly larger. Because it has to crop in to allow for the digital stabilization. So if you want to get the full width of what that screen will give you or what that sensor will give you, turning stabilization does make a difference. So putting it on a gimbal will help. I am DeBrown says, I'm sure you can't control a camera because you connect it via the HDMI port. Yeah, I don't think you can, Tony. I'm pretty sure it's just as a viewing platform, that Wi-Fi extender. If you see anything that interests you, Aaron. Mark says, now with iOS 13, the iPad is much better travel option and better for editing. It's a massive update, what they've done. I have updated my phone as well, but the phone has got nowhere near the features that the iPad OS has. It's for the first time Apple have made two different operating systems. The iPad now is a completely different system to what the iPhone is. And the features they're adding in there are just wonderful. I mean, it really does make a difference.
Oreo's asking, can you use the X-Rite Pro to color calibrate your iPad Pro? And no, you can't, unless they came out with something in the last 4 months, because that's when I was checking. That's the only issue I had, is I cannot calibrate the iPad Pro with anything that I've seen. You might there might be an app or something, but how would you know? I just don't know if there is a way. I did look into it 4 months ago, and no, Oreo, there isn't. But I wish they would come out with something, because if they could come out with something for that, then it would be cool, because then anybody watching on most devices will probably be pretty close in similar color. Whereas now with PC monitors and everything. They're just all different. So I'm hoping someone comes out with that. And if you know anybody in the chat here live or after the video, leave it in the description if you know if there's a tool where we could color calibrate. Why am I having problems with that? The iPad Pro.
Yeah, because I actually said yes, but I was thinking of the Ninja V, because you can get a calibration for your Ninja V, but you've got to purchase that connector. It's a different connector that you have to purchase than the Capture Pro, the i1 Capture or whatever it is, then can calibrate your Ninja V. So I'd say it's certainly possible. And now using USB-C, they might do it. But I have found that the iPhones and the iPads, the calibration is very good in them natively. Like, it's very close to what I use with my the one Capture, the i1 that I use. I can't remember the name of it. What is it? I forgot it here. No, it's very, very close to what that is. So they've set the sort of standard very, very high on them. But yeah, they may bring out one now that they've done USB-C, but I know you can do it. The X-Rite display, that's the one. The X-Rite display, I know you can use it on your Ninjas with a purchase adapter. So if you can do it on that, I can't see why it wouldn't be possible on a iPhone as well.
They'll probably come up with something now that we're getting closer to that. And now Nivik asked, he says that he downloaded iOS 13 and he's having issues with it. And that's the main reason why I didn't install iOS 13, because it is in beta and you might have issues. And since I used that for my professional work, I didn't take the chance and do the iOS 13. So yeah, it might be a beta. I don't know if you can go backwards back to 12 or what.
Well, you'd have to reformat it and then it'll come back to whatever is the release version. So you can, yes. If it was a problem, you'd have to reformat the drive or the iPad, make it as a new iPad, which will then download the latest version of the release that's there, which will be iOS 12, whatever it is. So yeah, it's safe to do. I mean, it just means then you've got to set your iPad up again. So that will be the issue of doing. I'll let you know how it goes once I get that adapter. It's shipped today, so hopefully I'll get it tomorrow or the next day, and then I'll let you know, because I'll do it and see if it works in. But yeah, this is the chance that you take. I'm always a rebel. I like to go out there and as soon as something's released, give it a go and see if it works. But I wouldn't do it on my main machine that you're looking at here, because that's my work machine, and there's no way I'm going to jeopardize that. So I've done it on my phone, and I've also done it on the iPad, because it doesn't matter if something doesn't work for me at this stage. But like Aaron said, his iPad is his major working tool, so he's not going to risk it, and I wouldn't recommend that you do that.
And also, Oreo's asking, he wants a large screen to edit. Are you saying that the 12.9 is the large screen you would like, or something larger? Because if that's true and you have a good monitor, then you can always do that HDMI out to a monitor, and then that way you have like a Wacom type tablet right here. And I don't know if you can, the thing you'd have to see is, can you see the iPad at the same time that you output HDMI to a monitor?
Yes, it does, Aaron. It works both at the same time, yeah.
Then there you go. You have it right there. And I don't know if that would be offsetting. But I guess you could do it, because if you have a pencil and you can see the image, and as you're doing your thing, you can look over to your monitor. And I mean,
it's no different than using a Wacom Cintiq.
Yeah.
That's exactly how they work.
And
you look at it on the screen down here, and then you look on. I used to have the Wacom Cintiq and I sold it, but it's exactly the same. So it'll work with the exact same process. So you're just using your mouse on your iPad. You're not even looking at the iPad, because you don't need to. You can use your normal mouse now, put in with iOS 13, and then you can use around on a massive screen and just use a wireless keyboard. It basically becomes a desktop, apart from the apps are different.
And the cool thing about that is this is far superior than a Wacom, because of all the other stuff that it does, So
yeah.
A Wacom only does that, where this is going to replace a Wacom and just it does everything, So all the apps and editing video and blah, 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 blah. So yeah, Oreo, I think you can definitely do something like that.
Stuart asked, how much was your iPad Pro? And I said, Stuart, I purchased my iPad Pro just through the telco, so it's on a normal plan. I've just done it that way because I've done it for 2 years. I can upgrade it after 12 months if I want to for $100 or something to get the newer one. And I just thought, well, I'll just do it that way, and it saves me paying out $2,000 or whatever it was, $1,000, I think, Australian or whatever it was. So I've just got it on an iPad plan, just with data included. So I've just done it that way.
And I forget how much mine was, but Langston's saying his normal work environment is using 3 screens, and I think he was earlier saying he's having a hard time even working on an iPad and on a laptop. You know, you're going from 3 screens, I'm going from 2. It can be a little weird at times. When it comes to photos, it's just for me, it's not weird at all. You can just double tap or zoom in an Affinity photo, and it's just glorious sharpness. There's no pixelization. Of course, if you go like too far, like anything. But another thing about that is my friend Ramon, who lives in California, he just bought one. I don't know if you ever seen it. It's an ultra wide monitor. It's probably about what you're seeing here, but like 3 of these. It's just amazing. So what he's doing now is he's actually editing video for a pretty popular YouTuber, and he's got this massive screen now, so he could see the whole timeline practically, you know, for I don't know how many minutes or whatever. It depends on how you zoom in, but that is pretty massive. So if you go from something that drastic to an iPad using LumaFusion, oh yeah, it's going to be really hard to get used to.
What else was saying? Casper was asking, what program do you recommend? So I'm not sure what that was about. We're saying
iPad video.
I'm not sure. What else have we got?
We got Stuart. He's asking, what's better, a Surface Pro 6 versus an iPad Pro? You know what? It's like if you are someone who uses After Effects and other desktop type apps that they just don't have on an iPad, then naturally a Surface Pro 6 would be better. But if you don't use those desktop only specific apps, it's a personal preference. But for me, the iPad, even when it comes to like Android phones, it just, or let's just talk about, Surfaces are just always on, I think also. It's personal preference, but if you need those desktop apps, then you have to go with the Surface. But if you don't use those and you're using Photoshop type stuff, then an iPad for me it's just so easy and it works very fast, no hiccups, never crash. Well, it crashes every once in a great while, but I would say an iPad, just personal preference, I guess.
And don't forget too that Photoshop's going to be released soon as well for the iPad as well. So, and that's a full version of Photoshop. So you're going to see it exactly identical to the desktop version of Photoshop. So that's coming, and there's already beta tests out there on that now.
And you just told me that last night or a night ago.
Yeah.
I researched it, and they are it's going to be the full version, but they're going to rewrite it for iPad, just like they did with Lightroom.
It'll probably run better.
Yeah, it's going to run like Lightroom, because everybody that uses Lightroom knows it can be a little wonky and on the PC or whatever. But in the iPad version is super fast, so Photoshop will be the same, and it's going to use PSD for the first time on an iOS device. So now you're going to have the PSD files. So if you're using Adobe Cloud, you can edit right here, and then of course go to your desktop, and the PSD is already there with all your layers if you do compositing and blah blah blah.
Gene said, we're just about finished. Gene said, I recommend turning off True Tone if doing color sensitive work. So do you do that, Aaron, or you don't?
Yes, I think I have it off. I never researched it, but I think I just have it off.
Yep.
No, not a specific reason. I think I just have it off anyways.
Casper said new phones will be better than the A7 and R5. Well, that's about it, guys. So we're Trevor said the Lightroom desktop version is slow. Yeah, I mean that's why I said the iPad is incredibly fast due to everything is rewritten for that, just that alone. So that's all the hardware they have to worry about. The memory optimizations are worked out to be done perfectly, things like that. So stuff runs very, very quick in the new iPads. In fact, they're nowhere near using them up to their performance at this stage. It's still going to be probably, they say, 2 years until the current iPads are outdated and being pushed. That the hardware in them is that good, the processor and things like that. So, you know, it's interesting how much performance are in these things for such a portable device.
One last tidbit too, just in case you're listening to this info, you can download Lightroom app for free, but it doesn't allow you to fix your RAW files. So if you just want to see how much faster it is than the desktop, you can download it for free, import a bunch of photos and just see if it's to your liking on fast. If you want to, of course, fix the RAW files, then you have to do one of their stupid programs, the $10 a month type of thing, which I don't like, but I use it so much, I don't mind. So just keep that in mind. That's about it.
So Affinity Photo, just to go over that, because someone just asked about it. Affinity Photo, you can go back, Jay, and watch this again. You'll find that. Does Affinity Photo have any cataloging at all, Aaron, or is it just a standalone like Photoshop?
Yeah, it's like Photoshop, and that's the main reason why I'm still kind of using Lightroom and Affinity Photo, because my Lightroom is all my category. I don't even use iOS app, photo app for, you know, looking at my photos. They all go into Lightroom. If Affinity Photo had that, then I would be considering just going Affinity Photo the whole time. There's other reasons why I wouldn't, but no, not now.
All right, well, that's it, guys. So we'll see you next week on my channel next week. Have you got anything planned coming up this week on YouTube, Aaron, at all?
I don't know. I'll be doing a wedding. I think it's this weekend. I'll have to look, and I'm going to be getting into landscapes a little more. So I'm still kind of hovering around those ideas. So maybe you'll see something come up on that, and which landscape and jewelry photography is making me change my gear a little bit. So stay tuned for some gear changes around here. And that's about it. David, anything interesting you're going to be putting up?
No, just sort of, well, I'm going to have to review the Tamron 17 to 28. So I'll be doing some reviews on that. I've got my, yes, I have, Casper. I've got my show on Friday. So Thursday, your time, US. So that will be on the normal time this week as well. And that's about it, guys. So stay tuned for whatever we post. And apart from that, Aaron and myself will see you next week. On the live.
Subscribe to both of our channels, and we appreciate you guys stopping by and chatting with us. And if you're just watching this pre-recorded, leave some comments and we'll get to you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, everyone. See you next week. Bye.
Bye. I forgot I had